Welcome back to A Brutal Europa, Episode 2. In the previous episode, we did the initial landing and built a starter base focusing on creating as many turbines as possible to improve power production. In this episode, I'm going to create a heated interior environment in that little 3x3 area I created in the first episode. We'll go ahead and finish up the little airlock there, creating some active vents and passive vents and plumbing and power it up so we can control the gas flow going in and out of that space. Effectively a simple airlock. And as you see here, I zipped out a little bit of mining while I was monologuing, getting some oxide and volatiles to be used for the furnace. Technically, I could just pump in oxygen from the environment into the furnace, but that takes a little more work and a little more components, so we're going to do it the easy way and discover some gold. Let's get that. And we'll zip through here and all right, let's look for some more interesting thing. We're leveraging the daylight, especially early on when you need ore. Daylight's very useful, especially for finding gold. There's a bunch more gold there. And nickel. I believe I'm going to hunt for some copper, or maybe iron, one of the two I ran out of. And there's some iron, so let's go to town on this. Yeah, the general pattern I use is that, ignoring the coloring effect, is that, when I find like one chunk of ore, drill around it because most likely there's another chunk near that chunk. So, and typically it works pretty well. Now, I'm walking a lot in this episode, really refilling the jetpack is no big deal, because you can just use the oxygen in the environment and just load it up. But it does require building some equipment, so I'm not sure how quick it goes. It seems to be lasting a good long time. And I tried flying it right now. I look at the speed, and it says about 3 meters per second, sometime hitting 4 for a fraction of a second. And when I fly, it's still like 3 meters per second, at least with the basic suit. So I don't see any speed advantage of using the jetpack per se. So I've been just go ahead and walk it. And we're back. Let's get to smelting here. And go ahead and flip the batteries over. And let's grovel through. Probably should make another small battery early on. I don't do that. I make one down the road, but I think early on creating one more small battery, which I believe is simple to make. There's no steel requirements. A large battery requires steel. As I stated at the beginning, I have two goals in this episode. One, I need a functional airlock, dual airlock with 2 active vents on it so I can control the gas flow in and out of it. And I need to create a furnace. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the furnace inside that 3x3 room, put a minimum amount of volatiles and oxide in there, and heat the room up that way. Now, this is not the safest approach. It is quick, and it requires minimum components to do. And the goal is, the plan is that, well, if the room gets too hot, I can just open up the doors and vent the hot air and bring in more cold air atmosphere. So, and I have to manage it between 0 to 50 centigrade I like to get it closer to, between 20 and 30. I'm grabbing some crap off the lander. Okay, we got to go ahead and do another eat and drink. And what's in your suit is not only good for one shot, or one and a fraction. So you have to grab some more before the on the second one. So let's do the same as before. I'm going to toss in 3 flares, heat it up. Once it gets warmed up, I'll chow down and drink, and then we'll continue. So I'll go ahead and speed this section up too. So we're at 5x as I sit here, contemplate what's next. Yeah, the cold environments are kind of nice because it's far easier to heat an environment than it is to cool it. Although you have to deal with ice, things freezing over if it gets too cold. And the way I typically deal with that is just create a vacuum. If the pipe has a vacuum in it, it can't freeze. But that requires a little more components than we have right now. All right, so we've gone ahead and so this will be the last time we have to do this in this little room. We should be able to do it next time in our new future heated 3x3 environment. I really don't need to be putting the food in my belt there because I can only eat and drink in a certain area. So we'll resolve that later on in a future episode. All right, so we got our furnace. And so another key issue is before I went into the room to eat, drink, I made sure I had, if possible, a long printing job, which is the furnace. I want the furnace printing, then do my eat, drink thing, and then come back and we have a furnace. So we need furnace, we need a couple, I think we have enough steel sheets for that. All right, so when I build an airlock, I like to build it with 2 frames. And I didn't plan ahead, and I should have put 2 frames up ahead of time. And that would have been faster. So I have to take out these walls, and so I can put a frame in here. Now I could still mount the airlock equipment on the standard walls. I think to be concerned a bit with the pipes bleeding energy through. But as I said, it's a bit rusty now, and I like having the frames here. So we're going to go ahead and put the frames in. We have time. We're doing fine. So I don't have to rush too much. The power was the biggest concern, and the other concern is the O2 level is dropping. So when you get this room warm, once you have it warm, then we can go ahead and just use a simple active vent filler and fill up a tank real fast. All right. I'm not going to place it halfway in a wall. I'm not going to just run pipes in here. I'm going to put the furnace inside the room. That's the way I roll. Never actually done this before. I mean, if I do it and it's too cold, then I can just put a little bit more in there. If it's too hot, then I can just open the doors up. Now, later on, when you have more components, you can fine-tune this and automate it and do fancier things than this. All right, so I'm trying to get just a little bit. Now, the ratio is 2-to-1. So I'm using 3 volatiles and 102. So what I'm thinking here is I'll start with the 3 volatiles and 1 oxide. If it's still not warm enough, I can throw in 1 more oxide that gives me sort of a half of a volatile, which is 1, 1-to-1, which is it'll burn halfway, which will leave me. So you have this half step you can do as far as incrementing the heat level. All right, so we'll throw that in and do the clicky because there's nothing in there. And there's no pipes attached to this. We're just going to run it raw. And voila, it's heating. So while that's doing its thing, now we guessed wrong. We put too much in there. It would overpressurize the room and blow up. And that would be bad. But the room is big enough, and I didn't put that much in there. So we're basically effectively burning just one oxide. So basically 2 volatiles, 1 oxide. Heat that up. And then also the furnace will release the heat slowly into the environment, so it's not super fast. And as it gets closer to matching, it slows down the effect. So I'm going to go in and check it. I'm not ignoring it. I just know it's going to take a while to get warmed up, and so for the furnace to actually radiate the heat into the room. And while that's happening, I'm going ahead and see I'm building the stuff for the airlock. Now, you might be thinking, you have an extra active vent in your cargo. And yes, you're correct, I do. But I had plans for that, so I'm going to mount 2 active vents for the airlock, and then the other active vent that's in the cargo container, I'll use that for filling my O2 tank. I could remove a active vent off the wall and place it on the floor, move it back. I don't like doing that. I only do that if I'm super desperate. If I'm not desperate, I try not to put things up and move, take them apart, move them around. If I can avoid that. Just my style. Another thing we're going to need is another empty canister for my waste tank. At some point, I will dump those into that room, but initially, I'm just going to store them in there for now. And as you may notice, I'm using my suit light almost all the time now, since power is much less of an issue. Okay, so we have, I remember that again. We get the utility pipe thing to make the tank storage, so we can attach a tank for filling. Toss those in there for now. Toss. Okay, we mount that, and this is the same pattern. If you see me on my old videos, it's I like this pattern. I had to sort of remember what I did before. I actually watched some of my old videos to try to remember some of the stuff, but it seems to all come back pretty quickly. Now, they did change things like the way the deep miners work and whatnot, so we'll have to adjust for the new stuff. And make some pipes. Yeah, I need some stackers on here. I do create stackers at some point. It's all about priority. So right now we need a heated environment, because we're going to run out of O2 here real soon. And since worst come to worst, I can rig something in that little room and use a flare. So that's my backup plan if plan A doesn't work out. And there's the other, there it is. You'll see me like trying to get over that stupid light on the floor there. So, oops. At least they have that little button to recover. Let's keep this going. Make sure I have everything I need. Yeah, we definitely short on cables. When I'm inside there, I don't want to risk, because I have to like finish what I'm doing. I don't want to be forced out of that room and vent it if I'm in the wrong situation. So I want to make sure I have a nice strong battery on me. I don't mind this part going dead initially. All right, so we're going to need power for our active vents here. Yeah, I need to switch out that small battery that's sitting in the APC. But trying to get that. I should move that meter. Kind of rushing right now. Watching my O2 tank get lower and lower. So If I built this airlock the correct way initially with the 2 frames, I've been a little ahead, but we'll pull it out. Let's get that thing. More and more cables. Yeah, this is a normal difficulty, which is about the right for brutal normal. This is about the right pace. You know, it's you got to kind of rush. You got to like not screw around too much, but you don't have to be in some death panic. The Stationeers is like, oh my goodness, it's stressed. It's just too stressful to play. At least for I think for Europa it'd be a little too much. Pull it off of the moon, I guess. But because the problem is with Stationeer difficulty, your O2 rate is 1.5, and so I would have to solve this O2 problem a lot earlier, which I could guess maybe pull it off, but it's just really just go. So we'll do this on normal. I figure do normal if it once I get better at it and get you know, because it's been a while since I played. If I ramp up, I might try Stationeers at some point. All right, so that's going to use to fill our O2 tank. So the planet, and it's negative 21 in here. Okay, so we're close. That's not bad. So in theory, if I throw, oh, and we should be heating, so we might still be going up. If I look at the tank, I'll see how hot it is. 20, negative 20, okay. And you see my waste. What's going low? Oh, that's my O2. Okay, and it's hard to see. So it gives you Kelvin, and in gray it gives you the in Celsius. There. So nice thing about editing afterwards, I actually stopped the voiceover, went back, looked at it, and it was 218 Celsius. So it's still hotter than the environment, but I'm becoming impatient. So what I figured I'd do is make it a little warmer, get it going faster, and then when it thresholds into a usable range, fill the tank at that point. So in other words, it doesn't matter if it gets too hot, because I'll fill my O2 tank as it passes through a useful threshold. Now, right now, at 0 is breathable oxygen. I take my helmet off right now, it's fine. Now I want to get a little warmer before I turn on the active vent there. Now I've done scuba diving in the wintertime, and I have breathed really cold air into my lungs. So yeah, maybe not freezing, but pretty close, since the tanks were stored in snow. When your scuba boat is covered in snow and you have to push it all off to get going. All right, so here you be real careful. This thing feels fast. All right, so we're at 18. We're at a real good range now, and we're filling our O2. Okay, so now we have now we'll top this one off. Now with my helmet off, I could take the tank out and all that, but I fill them both up. Okay, I like keeping the white one in the suit, so make sure I don't. It's just kind of weird seeing the yellow one there. All right, so the room's still heating, but we're still within a good range. So we made it. So we were able to fill our O2 tank. Switching out the waste tank is easy, and it doesn't matter if I overshoot the heat at this point, because I can always just crank open doors and lower it down. So perfect. All right, so we got that concern, and we'll swap out the tank there. Okay, so we can swap. We'll throw this over here. We don't really care about that yet. Now we're filling this directly from the room, and so we don't want to add CO2 yet, because until we put a filtration unit in there, to only O2. And What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong, people? Yep. Fortunately, this is easy to recover. The room's getting warmer now. Fortunately, I threw all this junk inside. I mean, worst comes to worst, I would just lose what's in this room. And given the room is too hot, that's not a problem. So I could have gone out. And the O2 tank lasts a good while. And I have 2 O2 tanks now. So I have a while before I stabilize that room temperature. And once I stabilize, and then that becomes easier. And we'll crank this out and make sure that was attached. All right, so we have a... So what I'm doing, I'm taking cold air and I'm blowing it into that room. Try to cool it down a little bit. Now, I don't want to overdo it. I also don't want to overpressure the room, because as it gets hotter, the pressure goes up. So I should watch that. And my suit light's on. Okay, we need to get to do some mining here. Looking at the sun, it's going down. If I was smart, I would get that tracker. And so one mistake I made in this series, or boo-boo, we'll call it a boo-boo. I didn't realize there's a tracker card sitting in the cargo, and you have a tablet. And so you've used a tracker, it gives you by default the location and coordinates. So you start your base, you write down those numbers, and then you can use it to find your way back. So now I could just wander out and mine during the night and find my way back. I didn't think of this until a couple episodes later, but here I got some coal. Now I'm getting coal. I'm getting coal because I want to make steel next. So steel is the next priority in the list of things to do. Obviously, we need to stabilize the temperature in our base, but while it's doing its thing, we'll go ahead and next one after that is steel. So we need to set up, I'm actually going to set up another furnace because I don't want to spend the time draining the tank inside there. And also it's possible I may want to use it again. So I'll leave the furnace inside that room. Oh man, there's a big chunk of gold here. And so I'll look at the base and get my coordinates. So I figured, well, if it gets dark, I'll just head in that direction. And found some more oxide by accident. Didn't want that. Got enough of that. Trying to get the gold around it. Yeah, I'm on a small battery right now, so I can't mine too long. Yeah, that green coloring is so obvious now. Well, I should speed this up. We won't be here that long. Okay, so I can still see the outline of the base. Let's get back before our battery goes dead. Could put a light on top or something to make it a little more visible. And you see that large battery is doing well. We'll swap that out. Dark on this side of the base. All right, let's see what's going on here. Let's just heck with it. We know it's going to be too hot. And too cold. That's weird. I looked at the tank is negative 1.9 Celsius. So when I blew all that cold air in there, you remember that? I just let the thing run. I guess I overdid it too much. I underestimated how fast that active vent moves that air. Okay, so we're going to have to put some more something in there. Okay, so we'll put a little more. So we should be O2 rich, because last time the way we managed it, we put more O2 in there than volatiles. So one more volatile will heat it back up again. So note is, when adding cold air, add it in short bursts and double check. Now the room gets too much pressure. We're at 132 pascals. We can always just crank the door open real fast to vent that out. Okay, so let's get this warmed up again. And you see in the gray the temperature of the furnace itself. All right, so we're heating back up again. Fortunately, we have plenty of O2, so there's no rush in doing this, but we will get that nailed out at some point. All right. Now we're going to put the air back in. So this room turns into a vacuum. Since it's already, it's cold, but it's not super cold. So we might as well save that gas. All right, let's get some smelting going on here. I figured go in this direction and do a little mining. So what I'm thinking, it's been dark for a while, and so if I go out with a full battery and do some mining, it'll be daylight. Oh, I got plenty of O2. My hydration in hunger is good. I got a full large battery. I can mine away, and then when it hits daylight, I'll find the base. And that's the plan right now. Okay, so we'll super mine right now. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Oh, found some nickel. I probably should have spent more. I probably spent more time getting that nickel. It'll become useful later on. But, it's one of the things, you find it, and then you go, well, I don't need it right now. And then you go look for it, and you just can't find it anymore. Oh, that little light I left on, that's kind of neat. Some silver. But I need to prioritize on what I find. So I need to make steel, and I like using units of 50. It's a quirk of mine for the ratio. So I want at least 50 coal and 150 iron. And typically I will delay until I get my nice units of 50 for making my alloys. And yes, I can use fractionals and all that, but another one of my quirks. There's some silicon here. We're going to use that. Need that. Actually, what I really need is iron, because I can't make steel without the iron. So I need a nice big thing of iron. There it is. Now, oh, this is like perfect. Iron and coal. So this is perfect. So I'm just going to mine the crap out of this. Now there is an ore scanner. You got to make it, but it's pretty cheap to make the ore scanner. There's also but you can't tell what's there. You just know there's something there, which can be useful. Not using it right now, mostly because I forgot about it. And there's also a color ore scanner, which I think I kind of remember that one, but that takes a little more, something a little special to make. I forget what it needs, but you can't make it out of the common basic stuff. And so I'm looking for the light, my base light, and it's like that little light that was nice in there, it's not there anymore. So it's like crap. And try to remember the direction. I should have remembered what direction I was going. So, okay, so now I'm going to be floating around lost a little bit, trying to figure out where I'm at. I mean, worst come to worst, I'll wait till daylight, but if I can find where I'm going, then fine. So I guess we'll go ahead, and I'm pretty full up, so I can mine a little bit more. So I might as well. So obviously there's a distance range. I have my graphics turned all the way out. I think there's another setting for how far certain things shown. Those at the default level. Okay, here's some copper. We can definitely use some more copper. So let's just use this up. So for those watching, make sure you take your tracker card from the cargo and turn it on before you leave so you know where your base is at. And worst come to worst, you can always pull that out. Yeah, like that's going to help. Oh, boogers. I mean, worst come to worst was we got, oh, and yep, as I said before, wait for the daylight to come out. And there, it looks like that's the base. Not that far away. So that was a game plan all along, wait for daylight, which happened. And see, the flying is 3. Sometimes it jumps to 2. It's probably fractional rounding up. So we don't seem to be going that fast flying. You know, with the standard suit. I think with the more advanced suit, it definitely flies faster, as I recall. A little base. We need more lights on here. Put that away, and yeah, go ahead and replace the battery for our drill. Can't see anything. Oh, let's see what's going on in here. This should be interesting. Close that door. Let's vent it out. We already made a mistake of putting too much cold air in here, and it's, wow, negative 26 Celsius. Seriously, I didn't plan that out. It was just, I just lucked out, apparently. That is a definition of dumb luck. But once again, it wasn't a big deal because I had plenty of O2 and everything else, so I had plenty of time to adjust the temperature if it was a little too hot and make it colder. So, right, we hit 26 for some reason, and we'll go with it. And now we can open up our helmet up and eat, drink. We haven't had the hygiene issue come up yet. It will come up at some point. So I now have a little room. I can go in, eat, drink, take my suit off if I need to. And I'll put some stuff in here that'll slowly warm it up. And then, you know, cooling it down a little bit. I'll set something up once that becomes an issue. So I should check the furnace to see if it's still radiating heat, but I don't bother. Good. So we solved the big problem. So now we need steel. So one problem is solved. We have, and that room is large enough that, you know, we can pull O2 out of it for filling tanks. Yeah, water is another issue. So you think there's ice. I found that the ice when I first got off the lander and started wandering, I found ice like right in front of it. I should probably sit back in the lander and run out from it again and find that ice at some point. Yeah, this is way too early to make an ice crusher. I don't know why I'm doing this now. Probably kind of thinking, what do I need to do? Well, I got O2. I need water, you know, and because I need to set up hydroponics, and I should have started the furnace before I started screwing around with this. Well, but water's the next big issue, or not the next big issue, but an issue that's going to come up pretty quickly as I burn through those water bottles. I need the water for growing, and I need water for drinking. And so really and there's ice around, so I can solve the water problem. And they made the ice crusher more fancier now. It actually, you can set a temperature to heat the water up too. So it won't come out super cold or anything like that. So that's like a really nice feature there. Okay, this is our pre-steel stuff. We're just going to throw it in there because I haven't built lockers yet. And probably should have built lockers a little earlier. I think that it's, so I'm not spending too much time, moving stuff around. All right, got all those. Let's do some mining. It's daylight. I can see, and there's some more gold right there. Oh man, this is a good map with all this gold. I mean, with the previous Europa and the standard build, I just avoided it because I just spent so much time just trying to find ore. It became, frustrating. And it's like I spend like 90% of my time just looking for ore. I mean, long term you can solve that problem, but short term it was just boring. Fly way over here, trying to find some more. Use a scanner. Here's a blob. What's there? Here the ore is way easier to find, so you focus more on survival than just trying to find stuff. Okay, we got a furnace, so we'll set this up here for no particular reason. Maybe not. Oh yeah, lockers. Yeah, finally thought about that. Get that going. And it doesn't really matter. We'll just stick it. And you may notice I have it sticking out in the open. There's no attempt to contain it or do anything like that because volatiles and oxide are like rampant everywhere, at least early game. So I don't have to worry about that for now. Because we'll just heat it up and throw the stuff in there and it cools back down. We'll vent it and then do it again. No big deal. It's also faster, no screwing around. And also they keep changing how containing stuff works. I haven't played with it recently to see, if it's possible to contain it or how you have to contain it or how much and all that. So, okay, so this is me going, I only have one locker. And that's why it's not working because the other one's stuck there. All right. Yeah, it's telling me you're doing a mail message. Okay, so we can at least put some of the stuff there now. I like to stage it so I get rid of some extra crap in my inventory. Well, it's only episode 2, so I guess locker in episode 2 is fine. So I need a way. This is not really a priority. I'm not sure why I'm building some of this stuff. So I'm going to need long-term a way to vent the gases out of the furnace. Because what happens, you get a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of gas in there, and it cools down. So you want to do another burn. You don't want to warm up all that previous gas all the way back up again, because that just requires more volatiles and oxide to do that. So what you really want to be able to do is empty it out. And I'm going to overthink this. I'm going to put too many pipes. I'm going to run it too long, and whatever. You just need a short little. Probably could just stuck a single pipe off the back of the output, put one valve on there, and then stick the cowl in there. So 3 pieces. If I would have done this again. So for those watching, don't over-engineer this part. Keep it simple. And I said I can make the first batch of steel and then go ahead and do this. Now there's one output and there's one input, and I shouldn't have done that. There's no reason to put the pipe on the input side. This is the other interesting part about voiceovering after I recorded, because I can analyze what I've done and I make those corrections for future videos. Trying to remember how this stuff worked again. Now there is a passive vent with a switch on it, so I could have put that there. I wasn't thinking about that. That's something added at some point. Although apparently the insulated passive vent doesn't have a switch, only the non-insulated one. Okay, so let's clean out some of this stuff out of my... now, I wasn't sure if the ice would melt in a locker. So I keep the ice in my mining belt. Because I'm thinking, well, maybe during the daytime, the sun hits it and, and it'll just kind of melt off. And I do test this later on in some future episode where I go ahead and try it and it doesn't melt. So I could have just stuck all that volatiles and oxide and all that just in the locker and it would have been fine. Even during the day, it seems not to melt or anything. It's just so cold. I forget what planet. There's some planet that during the day, maybe it's the moon, during at least at one time this was true. It may not be true anymore, but I believe on the moon during the daytime when the sun was up, it would melt if you pulled it out in your hand or in a locker. Maybe not a locker, I'm not sure. Okay, so we're going to do steel, and I'm going, how hot do I need to make it? I don't want to waste. These are plenty of oxide, and I don't want to go crazy on it. So put the oxide in, and put the vol. This is pretty easy. Oop, and okay, let's get going here. Now, doors closed. Okay. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm just being silly here. So what I'm doing is called a degassing process. So when you throw ore in for the first time, it releases gases which will artificially cool down the furnace. And so if you degas it first, then when you do the actual smelting for the alloy, the temperature won't drop. Now, since this is sitting outside on Europa, the whole thing is cooling down like a bad word I can't say. And so that was just silly. I should have just thrown in more volatiles and oxide, get it really hot, and then just toss it in. It's because you make it hot enough, it doesn't matter if it cools down a little bit. So, yeah. So the right procedure would have been not even mess with this pipe, just throw, 6 volatiles in there and 3 oxide and just get it really hot and throw all the stuff in there and bam, I would have had steel by now. Okay. But we'll do it the entertaining way. So we close it up. We throw it in there. Okay, it burns because it's already somewhat hot. And we throw that in there. Now we're just going to throw all this stuff in there. This is time critical because it's cooling. Because I was being cheap and not threw in. If I threw in more volatiles, it wouldn't matter. All right, we got steel the hard way. And with steel, we can first of all make another large battery. We need gold and copper. I'm gonna get that going. Gold, copper, gold, copper. You know you're doing well in ore when you no longer have to eject all the ores out of a printer. When you can fill them all up and just go back and forth. And if you need some more, you just pull it off the shelf and throw it in there. All right, so now I can switch batteries between. I have two batteries, one in the APC and one in my suit, and that's a big help there. Now I don't have to go wandering off with a small battery. And ran out of power. Probably shouldn't be. Gold is very power hungry to smelt. So we'll turn that off and turn that off and try it again. So I shouldn't be smelting gold on a small, on an almost dead small battery while trying to print. Just for your information. And it prints pretty fast. Only want one. Now for the ultimate. Need more copper. Come on, wind. Start blowing. We need some more power. And I got gold, 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 and no copper. Wouldn't you know it? I'm taking these little fractional pieces of gold and I'm going to throw those in there so we don't have all these little pieces floating around. And of course you can't stack ingots. Not by hand anyway. And just throw it all in there. Here's some copper. Probably should have done that first. Get that printing. Okay, building your first station battery is one of the most critical things to have. Because now, one reason is that I don't have to worry about having my batteries fully charged and just wasting power. I can retain a lot more of that energy, at least until I fill a station battery, which takes a lot. The other thing is that there's going to be a storm at some point. And what we want is that station battery hooked up to all those turbines with a heavy cable. And when that storm hits, I will charge that battery up like in no time. And now we have a fully charged station battery, and that definitely puts us in a much better situation. But as we're getting close to the end of this episode, we'll deal with that in the next episode. And never put a station battery on normal cables. Always use heavy, or if you have to, gotta put some lockers in here, keep them getting slammed by stuff. And the room is 26. Still amazing. Now there is a little bit of pollutants in this room because of the, I did a quick weld, but it should be just O2 and a little bit of pollutants. If I would, I do have an atmosphere analyzer in the cargo container. I could pull that out and check it. I do that at some point. I'm not getting sick or anything, so we're fine. And I will clean that out at some point. It's just, you just put a filtration unit in there and suck it all out and clean the room up. All right, looks like we're almost done with this episode. We're just going to wait for that battery to print off, and then we'll call it an episode. So making progress. You watch the slow way of making steel. And there's our battery. All right, until next time, see ya.